Welcome back to FM Storey. We've reached the business part of Season 8 as we go for our 7th league title in a row. We are currently unbeaten in the league this season. In fact, we've only dropped 2 points. We've drawn one game so far out of 25. We've got an Allianz Cup final coming up. Hopefully, if we can overturn a 1-goal deficit, we'll have the Taça de Portugal final coming up as well. Without further ado, let's get going. It's time for yet another Allianz Cup final. Having ended the last episode on a low, having lost and been knocked out of the Champions League by Arsenal, we've rebounded well, having won every game we've played since then, only conceding 2 goals in the process. We started off with a 4-0 victory over AC Viseu, goals from Ruben Alonso and Pedri. We beat Tondela and Estrela Amadora in the league pretty comfortably, although the Estrela Amadora game did require us waiting till very late on to get the goals. Casapia we won convincingly away from home, and that was the game that secured the title for the season. We then followed that up with a comfortable victory at home to Pacos de Ferreira, and then the most recent league game we went away to Vitória Guimarães and struggled to a 1-0 victory. We followed that up with the second leg of the Taça de Portugal against Estoril. We'd lost the first leg because of an injury time goal. We picked up a lead on the night just before half time through Thiago Thomas. Throughout the normal 90 minutes, we didn't really create an awful lot. We were lucky even really to get that goal from Thiago Thomas. However, the second half of extra time, we turned it on. Thiago Thomas picked up another couple of goals to secure his hat-trick, and Nunes scored a cracker of a volley in injury time just to secure a 4-0 victory and make sure that we got through to yet another final on the Taça de Portugal, where we'll play Braga at the end of the season. Obviously, we've got the Allianz Cup final coming up next against Benfica. Big game. Hopefully, we can continue our great run of domestic football and pick up another trophy there. As far as the league's concerned, we've got 3 games left. We've still not lost a game. We've only drawn the one game, which was that game away at Benfica earlier in the season. If we win every game we've got left, not only will we finish the season unbeaten, we will finish the season with 100 points, which, considering you can only get 102 points in a Portuguese season, would be quite the achievement. We have had to really share the goals around in the second half of the season with Harry Kane's injury, and that was something that really obviously affected us in the Champions League. He's now coming back into full fitness. He's not ready to start games, but he's ready to actually play. But the performances we've put in just been outstanding. We've got a positive goal difference of plus 91. I think we've scored 110 goals in the league this season, and yet we don't have a player that's scored more than 14. So we've really shared the goals around, and we just need to go in and put in a performance now against Benfica and pick up another trophy. This is the team we picked for the game against Benfica in the final. Largely pretty much as strong a team as we can put out. We obviously have to have 2 under-21 Portuguese players or Portugal nationals in the side. So Augusto Andre starting at left back. We've had a stroke of luck in that since the semi-final, Nunes has reached his number of years that he needs to qualify as a Portuguese national, and has so taken up the Portuguese nationality. Although he's a Brazilian international, he's now Portuguese national, so now he counts as one of the 2 under-21 players. So we've not had to move too much around. Obviously, Harry Kane's not fit enough to start. We're starting with Thiago Thomas through the middle just because of his form in that last game. Kisadou's playing wide left. We're going to play Ardagula in the number 10 role. We're trying to figure out who's going to play there long term, because although we would like to sign Pedri for the agreed fee in the contract, we've not been able to agree a wage with him. So he's probably leaving at the end of his loan spell. We're going to play Nunes on the right, Gula through the middle. The only other real difference from a normal team that isn't the under-21s is that Vasquez is starting at centre-half because Nianzou's injured. Alejandro Balde's suspended as well. So we're a couple of players out. Hopefully we can go in and put a performance and win another trophy. hopefully we can get off to a quick start and match what we did against Benfica in the final of the Allianz Cup last season. We beat them 7-0 in the final of that. Hopefully we can, given how dominant we've been in the league this season, hopefully we've got enough to be able to put in a performance. But the game started pretty slowly so far. Not an awful lot happening. Right, a corner. Santos to take. Looking for Ruwalt at the near post. And there we go. It's taken us 44 minutes, but we're in front. Good time to score as well, right before half time. Make them change things at half time. Gets above 2 players there at the near post. Flicks it into the far corner. And overall, a pretty poor first half from both teams. But we've gone ahead and we'll take that. Right, Estes and Nunes. Oh no. Can't let them out. Get your head on it. That's well done. Right, Asugo gives it away. Right, and he luckily gets back to win it. Right, Klim into Pedri, into the box to Alonso. Tries to pull it back, but they clear. And now they're counter-attacking. How have we thrown this away? We gave them far too much room. Didn't close them down. And it goes straight to penalties. And I don't like the look of what we've got. Right, they're taking it first. And Musso comes up big with a save. Now, if Asugo can score, it puts us in a good position. And he does. He sends the keeper the wrong way. Right, Monchi with their second penalty. And Musso almost got to that one as well. Right, Nunes, who was anxious before the penalties, that's not a particularly good sign. Yeah, that wasn't great, was it? Asensio for them. When Musso saves it. Right, Ruwalt, who has scored and missed some big penalties for us in previous seasons. Hits it straight at the keeper. This might be one of the worst penalty shots I've seen. Right, João Neves for them. Right, so this is our 4th penalty. Pedri stepping up to take this one. Oh. Right, we need Musso to come up big here. That is really unacceptable performance. And we've basically had nothing to play for a month since we got knocked out of the Champions League. And yet that's the performance we put in. It's better not roll over into our league season. If we suddenly lose a game, bear in mind one of the 3 games we've got left against Porto, if we lose one of these last 3 games and risk not going unbeaten. Right. I think we might need to go back to the drawing board with the team selections up to the end of the season now. We've played a couple of games since the defeat against Benfica in the Taça de Portugal. We've played a couple of games since the Allianz Cup final defeat against Benfica and got back on winning ways. First up, we defeated Vizela 2-1 away from home. We got off to a pretty decent start. Goals from Ruwalt and Harry Kane in the first 20 minutes put us 2-0 up. Towards the end, we were hanging on a bit. They equalised with less than 5 minutes left. and we were really struggling to hold on there. Luckily, they had a player sent off in injury time, and that kind of killed the game off completely. But we did kind of really struggle. It was certainly a game of two halves. We were pretty good in the first half and absolutely diabolical in the second half. We then followed that up with a 3-0 victory against Porto. This time we were pretty poor in the first half and pretty good in the second half. Ruel opened the scoring with a header from an Arda corner just before the hour. Then they had a couple of chances on the break, but in the end the subs managed to kill the game off in injury time. Nunes and Ruben Alonso both picking up goals, so we ran out 3-0 winners. What it means going into the last day of the league season. Is we need to avoid defeat to stay unbeaten in the league all season. If we win, we set new records for the most number of wins in a season, and also we reach the 100-point mark, and we'll have only dropped 2 points over the whole season. We're playing against Famalicão, who obviously are still battling to get into the European spots here. So hopefully we can go out there, put in a performance, pick up the victory. I mean, from an ideal point of view, I'd like to win by 5 goals just to make the goal difference 100. But you know what? I'll settle for a win, settle for the 100 points, settle for the unbeaten season, and hopefully we can go ahead and do that. We're going into this last game of the league season with the stronger teams we can pick. The only kind of areas of doubt would have been sort of left back, left wing, whether it was Balde at left back or Simovic, and whether it was Balde or Kisidou on the left wing. Kisidou's injured and out for the rest of the season. Only for a couple of weeks, but he'll miss this game and he'll miss the Taça Portugal final. It does mean that Heung-min Son comes into the bench. He is retiring at the end of the season, so hopefully we're in a position where we can bring him on just to get one last run out in the league ahead of the Taça Portugal final. But other than that, as strong a team as we can put out pretty much. Right, Famalicão with a free kick early on here. They've gone down the left hand side and got a looped cross in. Oh my god. That is absolutely not the way we need to start the game if we want to end the season unbeaten. Right, Nyanzu cuts that one out. Santos to Asugo, into Kane, through to Arda. And there we go, back on level terms. And finally, they've woken up in this game. Right, Arda with a free kick from the edge of the box. Oh. I mean, it probably would have been very undeserved to go in front there. And there we have it, half time. It took half an hour for our players to wake up and realise they were actually playing a game there. Since then, they've not really done anything. But we're going to need to be better in the second half if we want that 100-point mark. I know they've got a lot on the line in terms of the European place, but they look like they actually want to win the game and we don't. Ruwalt driving forward into Nunes, Arda, and it goes back to the keeper. Is that the whole unbeaten season just gone up in smoke in the last couple of minutes of the game? How? Just how? How have we allowed that to happen? I'm literally shell-shocked now. Going into the game, we played 33 games and won 32 of them. And then we lose on the last day of the season. That's a hard one to take. And now it's time for the end of season review. in what it shouldn't really feel like it, but it does feel slightly disappointing in the way the season sort of come to an end, the way we went out with the Champions League, losing the Allianz Cup final, losing on the last day of the season so that we don't stay the whole season unbeaten. We did win 3 trophies, so we won the league, we won the Taça de Portugal against Braga, and we won the Super Taça at the start of the season as well. In terms of new signings, we had 4 players come in during the season. Pedri came in on loan in the summer transfer window. Really good. If we could get him to agree a wage, we would sign him permanently, but we can't seem to get him to agree a wage. And then in January, with the money that we got from some of the outbound transfers, we signed sort of 3 young players. The only one that's really kind of kicked on is Konstantin Klim, who was the most first team ready when we signed him. He's done really well when he's come into the team as a backup for Santos and Asugo in that defensive midfield role. Tommy Lane says he's centre back, but given his defensive things, we're retraining him elsewhere. And Gamulka just really hasn't been given a chance in the team to really show anything yet. In terms of the outgoings, we obviously brought in an awful lot of money this season, selling Marcus Edwards, Mateus Fernandes, Chimiti, Bruno Mendes, Leandro Martinez, Coruas, selling them all for more than 10 million. I mean, if you look at the sort of forward, we sold 3 forwards. So Chimiti for 80 million, we sold Coruas for 78 million, we sold Mendes for 60 million. They've all relatively done well. I mean, Coruas hasn't done particularly well at Man United, but Chimiti and Mendes have done well at the clubs that they've gone to in terms of goal scoring. But bearing in mind that certainly in the case of Chimiti and Mendes, they never really showed anything that they were going to be good enough to start for us regularly. So to get that much money for them with such little experience behind it, just deals we couldn't turn down really. So in terms of the league, the expectation from the board was that we won. We did win, and we fell agonisingly short of that unbeaten season, that invincible season, that 100-point barrier as well. Going into the last game of the season, the only points we dropped were at the end of December in that draw away at Benfica, and then we went away to Famalicão on the last day of the season and just were abysmal and threw it away. Champions League, we were expected to reach the latter stage of the Champions League, which I think the definition of was the quarter-final. Obviously, we didn't get off to a very good start with the thrashing away at Man City in the first game of the league phase. Everything else was fine up until that point. I mean, we even won away at Arsenal in the round of 16 in the first leg, but just capitulated, particularly in the second half of the later on in the second half of the second leg against Arsenal and got knocked out at that point. So obviously that was a very disappointing end to that campaign. Taça de Portugal, we won. That was what we expected to happen. We won pretty comfortably in the end in the final against Braga. We did come from behind in the semi-final, winning in extra time. And yeah, just pretty much did what we expected of us in that competition. Allianz Cup, went through the group phase in the semi-final without conceding a goal. Got to the final against Benfica, had the game basically secure, and then conceded with practically the last kick of the game. And then, because we'd made changes, because players were tired, we didn't have really any penalty takers on the pitch, and we lost on penalties. And then obviously we won the Super Taça, beating Estrela Amadora 3-0 at the beginning of the season. So our biggest win was a 9-1 win at home to Casapia in December. Coras with a hat-trick, Thiago Thomas and Pedri both with a couple of goals. The match to remember is actually the reverse fixture against Casapia, where we won 6-1. That was a game where we won the title. And then the goal of the season was a cracking volley from Goncalo Estevez in injury time in one of the opening games of the season against Israel Amadora. Finance-wise, obviously, a lot of that is down to the Champions League in terms of the broadcast revenue going down, the corporate hospitality going down, the competition prize money going down. How we lined up, I think we played this formation the whole season. It's interesting to see the side because it is pretty much the main team that we picked. Obviously, the centre forward we kind of rotated because you can see by how many games Thiago Thomas started and how many came off the bench. I'm half surprised that Asimovic was in as the best left back ahead of Balde. Kissidou was the real surprise this season. He just came on leaps and bounds, and as soon as he went into the team, was absolutely outstanding. 18 assists, 10 goals in 39 games, a 7.43 average rating. Just can't ask for much more than that, and we'll just look to hopefully he can build on that in the seasons to come. Obviously, manager of the month for most month. I think it was 1 month. I think it was December because we had the draw against Benfica, where we didn't pick that up. Arda Güler, fans player of the season. Kissidou, the young player of the season, claimed the signing of the season. Tanguy Nyanzi, who ended up being the top goal scorer with 19 goals from centre half. 29 assists for Arda Güler, 6th man of the matches, highest average rating. He was just really outstanding. And there we have it. On paper, a successful season, but given how the season started, the end of the season has to be considered disappointing. And there we have it, the end of another episode, the end of another season. As we said, on paper, if you told us we'd won 3 trophies, you'd accept it, especially maintaining that run of league wins. But when you look at how we started the season, how everything was going up until sort of the end of March when we got knocked out of the Champions League, then into April where we lost the Allianz Cup final, and then into losing the last day of the season to ruin that unbeaten season. It's disappointing, and it adds fuel to the fire for next season. We do have some aging players, and particularly Kane, Son's retired, so we're going to need to sort of rebalance some of the team, but the majority of the squad are young and got many more years ahead of them, so hopefully we can push on and win another title next season. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.